Hello, everyone. We are live on YouTube here. Let me get the presentation going. Okay, wonderful. Okay, we're going to talk about this book right here. I don't know if you can see that. All right, Grant Writing for Educators by Beverly Browning. And we're going to talk about the introduction in this PowerPoint. Well, I'm sorry, not this PowerPoint, in this video about becoming a successful grant writer. Okay, all right, wonderful. Okay, why educators turn to grant, which all of us here are educators, I'm assuming, right? Educators or aspiring educators, or maybe past educators, I don't know. Generally, lack of materials and supplies, right? Generally, there's a need, right? The school's not fulfilling it, there's no money to fulfill it. A need to improve programs and opportunities, right? And a desire to change the condition for students, right? A lot of need and not enough resources, which is in many ways the story of public education, right? Common questions educators ask, how do you teach with limited resources, right? And generally the question is, it becomes very difficult, and therefore grants provide more resources. Why do others get grants and I don't? I don't know. Maybe you know people who do and you don't, and or districts that do and you don't. A lot of it may have to do with having a grant writer or having people specific doing that task of grant writing. And how do I learn to write winning grants? That's essentially what this class is really going to be all about. Okay. Was it intimidating? Right. Educators, already have heavy workloads unless you assign a particular educator or a team to work on grants that usually the schools don't have those type of resources. And that's a lot of times why grants and grant writing falls by the wayside. Who's going to do it? Grant research and applications, they feel complex sometimes. A lot of pages, a lot of writing. Some of the federal applications that I've written require about 100 pages of writing generally, and sometimes you have to write that in a matter of a couple of weeks, right? So it is kind of generally around the clock writing. A fear for rejection that discourages the effort. Yeah, generally, as I said earlier, I've gotten about 65 million in grants that I've gotten. I can't tell you how many times I've been rejected. I would say probably as much as I've been awarded is probably as much as I've been rejected. And it doesn't matter if you're a seasoned grant writer or not. Uh, you can be rejected. It doesn't have to do with the quality of the writing sometimes. Sometimes it may have to do with the quality of the ideas. Sometimes it's, where you're located in the country, who you're serving, who you're competing with. Really, more than anything, is who you're competing with. And so many different reasons for rejection, but as they say, you can't be rejected if you don't try, or you can't be successful if you don't try. Either way. This book is for teachers, administrators, school and district staff, and educators maybe without access to grant offices, and also graduate students. You all are. Okay, wonderful. Okay, the key thing here from this book that we're going to get is grant writing success is learned. It's not going to just happen. You're not going to become suddenly good. You're not going to suddenly get grants. Okay. And that's why a lot of people in school districts and district offices hire somebody like me, but can also hire somebody like you, really. Preparation increases the odds for funding, and really practice. Practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the more likely you're going to be successful. And educators can also become effective grant writers if they put the time, effort, and the desire to do it. Okay. The question is, where's the money? Is it federal, state, county, city, local, foundation? There are so many different ways to get money, different levels, but it all depends on, what are you doing and where can you get the money? What format does the funder want? The format is extremely important to the T, right? If you're not a person that pays attention to detail, You will have to be that person. You will have to pay attention to detail. Every dot, every period, every word, every character, all of those things are extremely important to be able to get even really just past the door to get your grant reviewed a lot of times, right? I've, geez, the type of mistakes I made. One time we turned in a grant a minute late. The system didn't take it, right? The time limit was, I think, 2:59 p.m. I think we submitted at 3 p.m. No, it's too late, right? It could have been maybe even 20 seconds, but it doesn't matter, right? Or you wrote one too many words. The system's not going to take it if people are taking it through the system, right? If a lot of times I submit grants through some sort of grant system, right? And what earns high review points? Almost all grants called, there's many ways to call these. Some of it is called like RFQ, requests for funding, no, request for, RFP, request for proposal. That's a common one, but there's many different little nuances of how these calls for proposal, these calls for money are put out. And generally all of them, they're like 50, 100 pages that you have to read. But generally, a lot of them, as part of those 50 to 100 pages, they have the rubrics that tell you exactly how they're going to grade every different section of your grant. And that is extremely important for you to read that. And once your grant is written, then you check it back against the rubric to make sure that indeed everything that you wrote speaks to the rubric if and when they provide that, which most of the time they do, to make sure that you've earned the most points possible. Okay. Smaller schools struggle because you don't have a dedicated grant writer. Sometimes you have to, hire external people. Sometimes you don't have the money to hire external people, right? People are already multitasking. It's hard to take on one more thing. And also, who's going to do it, right? It's an additional task. We do it if we have time, when we can. And that's something that you're really committed to because of the resources that it may take to do it. Leadership makes a difference. One single educator doing this, that's you. I'm speaking to you directly in this class. You can make a difference if you become that person, right? It's about initiative, not what your title is. You could be at the bottom of the hierarchy, at the bottom of the map or whatever, but you may be the one writing grants, and you may be that person that your school looks to or your district looks to. Smaller teams can win significant funding. You got to have a team. You got to have somebody with the ideas. You got to have somebody who knows how to write budgets. You have to have somebody who pays attention to detail, right, at the very minimum, right? But sometimes you don't have the opportunity or the resources to have a group of 2 or 3 people. Okay. What makes a successful grant writer? You gotta want to do it. You gotta go out there and want to get the grant written. You gotta have a vision. You gotta be a change agent, a strategic thinker, and also you got to be committed to the process. I think that's a football slogan or a basketball slogan. You got to be committed to the process. Okay. Grant writing is leadership, advocates for students and programs. You plan and you coordinate your resources at the school and what you need, and you turn your ideas into funded action, right? It's not just good enough to have good ideas. Everybody has good ideas, right? Well, not everybody, but having a good idea is not unique, right? What's unique is getting the money to be able to advance that idea. Heck, even if it's a bad idea, right? A bad idea could become a good idea if you have funding behind it. Okay? Funding is key. Funding makes the world turn. What this book's going to help you do is find grant opportunities, write competitive proposals, which we will do, understand expectations, and then build your confidence. Okay? You got to step into leadership through grant writing. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to put you in that position. Combine writing, research, and technology, and use grants to improve your schools, classrooms, nonprofits, whatever it is that you want to focus on. And those who may not know where they want to focus on, that might be a good idea to have a chat with me, and I may be able to connect you with some external community partners that would love to team up with graduate students who are interested and committed to this process. And reflection is, what resources does your school need the most, right? What changes do you want to make, and how could grants really support that vision? Okay. So what's next is understanding the grant seeking process, learning how funding agencies operate. Funding agencies are those people giving you money. And again, I said it could be federal, state, county, city, local, district-wide, school-wide, foundations, private foundations particularly. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.